Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. Praise be to God. And it's good to be back. You have survived the weekend. Congratulations. We need to get straight back at the week. It's going to be very productive. You're going to have a great week, I promise. But in the meantime, we're going to have some interesting conversation on the program today. Charles Fraune and Patrick O'Hearn are coming up at 30 past the hour. The most powerful saints in exorcisms. What exorcists want you to know. Did you know demons call the saints assassins? Did you know saints routinely show up during exorcisms to intercede on behalf of the possessed? Why certain saints? Why not others? Do they get to decide which saints? How does that work? Does the possessed person get a say in all of this? We're going to have that conversation. The power of the saints and their intercessory prayer for the possessed with Charles Fraune, Patrick O'Hearn at 30 past the hour. Do join us for that if you can. But there was an interesting story over in the Denver Post. Apparently, the most precious blood Catholic Church in Denver doesn't like their pastor very much and wants him gone. Why? Apparently, he preaches the Catholic faith, and that can't be tolerated. So they reached out to the bishop, but the bishop says, no, that's kind of what I want him to do. And now they've set up a whole petition. And by the way, the priest signed the petition to have himself removed, even though he doesn't really want to go. It's a very interesting story. We'll talk about that with a friend of the show, Mike Koeniger, at 14 past the hour. We'll put the links to everything we discuss in the show notes for you over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Got a lot to get to. I'd be grateful if you share us with a friend. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and now your saint of the day.
King St. Louis IX, pray for us. Louis was born in the year of our Lord 1214, the son of King Louis VIII of France and Queen Blanche of Castile. He inherited the throne at the age of 12, so his pious mother ruled as regent until Louis turned 22. The Queen's great influence on her son may be summed up by what she once told him. I love you, my dear son, with all the tenderness a mother is capable of. But I would infinitely rather see you fall down dead at my feet than that you should ever commit a mortal sin. For the next 2 decades, Louis upheld the traditional title of the French monarchs, Rex Christianissimus, or Most Christian Majesty. Louis practiced strict personal mortification while remaining magnanimous and cheerful to all others. He fed the poor from his own table, washed their feet with his own hands, and ensured special care for lepers, founding several hospitals. The king's hands were anointed during his coronation, and henceforth his touch could cure diseases, especially scrofula or the king's evil. The royal touch continued as a custom for centuries. Louis supported religious orders, built the glorious Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, banned usury throughout France, and strictly punished blasphemy. He and his devout wife, Marguerite of Provence, had 11 children. Louis generously aided the Kingdom of Jerusalem and died of illness while on the 8th Crusade in the year of our Lord 1270. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saintsandseasons. King St. Louis IX, pray for us.
And now your headline news. Ground News reports U.S. National Guard troops in Washington to begin carrying weapons. Some National Guard units in Washington, D.C. have started carrying firearms with handguns and rifles under strict rules of engagement. Trump has described some large cities run by Democrats dangerous and filthy despite falling crime rates, like Baltimore. Speaking of which, Reuters reports Pentagon planning military deployments to places like Chicago in coming weeks. In the coming weeks, up to 1,700 National Guardsmen will be mobilized in 19 states to support the Department of Homeland Security from August until at least mid-November, with many stationed in Texas. Officials said the Guardsmen will assist U.S. Immigration and Customs enforcement, often under Title 32 status, distinct from the crime operations in D.C. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson criticized the plan as uncoordinated and noted the city received no federal outreach, adding that the administration shouldn't have cut over $800 million from violence prevention programs. And Catholic Vote reports Pope Leo gives challenging Angelus address. In his Angelus address yesterday, Pope Leo reflected on the passing through of the narrow gate passage. The pontiff said that Jesus' words are meant primarily to challenge the presumption of those who think they are already saved, who perform religious acts and feel that it is all that is needed. They have not realized that it is not enough to perform religious acts unless they change hearts. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Matthew chapter 23, verses 13 through 22. Jesus said to the scribes and Pharisees, "But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut the kingdom of heaven against men. For you yourselves do not enter in, and those that are going in you suffer not to enter. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you devour the houses of widows, praying long prayers. For this you shall receive the greater judgment. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you go around about the sea and the land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him the child of hell twofold more than yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, that say, Whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But he that swear by the gold of the temple is a debtor. Ye foolish and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whoever shall swear by the gift that is upon it is a debtor. Ye blind, for whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? He therefore that sweareth by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things that are upon it. And whosoever shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth in it. And he that sweareth by heaven sweareth by the throne of God, and by him that sitteth thereupon. The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. The great commentary of Cornelius a Lapide would say, observe that as Christ enumerated 8 Beatitudes, repeating the word blessed 8 times in St. Matthew chapter 5, so does he here bestow 8 maledictions upon the impious scribes, 8 several times repeating the word woe. Christ, the new lawgiver, imitates Moses, the ancient lawgiver, who promises many blessings to those who keep the law and threatens with as many curses those who break the law. Moreover, the word woe is partly prophetic of the grave punishment which should fall upon the wickedness of the scribes, and is partly condoling and pitying in its signification. Whence Basil says, the word woe, which is prefixed to intolerable pain, applies to those who soon afterwards to be destroyed by dreadful punishments. The word woe, therefore, presupposes a deadly fault, for it threatens the punishment of hell, as Christ explains in verse 33. Tropologically speaking, they shut up the kingdom of heaven who excommunicate anyone without cause. Let that sink in. You see, covenants that are sworn. These are the exchange of persons to create family bonds. This is not some sort of like economic contract. I hire a plumber. He will perform these duties for this much pay. His job is to perform the duties. My job is to pay. That's a contract. That's not a covenant. A covenant is the exchange of persons to create family bonds. The people of God entered into a covenant with God to become family. And when you break the covenant, curses are enacted because every covenant comes with blessings and curses. This is why Joshua in Joshua 24 says, "As for me and for my house, we shall serve the Lord." They've made their choice because he knew the stiff-necked, hard-hearted Israelites would choose otherwise. He knew. Moses knew. Moses warned them. Joshua warned them. The prophets warned them. And still, they were hard-hearted and stiff-necked, and they have broken the covenant time and time again. And this is why Jesus gives them the woes. You break the covenant, bad things happen. And this is also why Jesus, in his infinite mercy, took upon those curses upon himself in his passion, death, and resurrection, to say, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." You see, Jesus loves you so much that while you will break his heart time and time and time again, he will cry out to the Father, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He takes upon the curses, the lashes on his back, the skin torn from his bones, the thorns in his head, the spear in his side, the nails in his hands and his feet, dying desperately to save your soul. But woe unto you that reject your Messiah. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. More to come.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
Joining us now this morning is our good friend Mike Koeniger, back in the hot seat after being away for a couple of weeks from sunny Virginia. Praise be to God. Mike, it's good to have you back on the team.
Well, I am certainly happy to be back. I'm actually still up in Connecticut, so I head home as soon as you and I get done with the show today. So it'll be exciting times on the New Jersey Turnpike, which I know you love. But it was a great time up in New Hampshire and Vermont, Joe.
Friends, don't let friends drive on the New Jersey Turnpike. I'm just saying, go around. That's why God invented Pennsylvania. So you just go around. You just go around it. You don't have to deal with it. It's okay. Hey, let's talk about.
Gotcha.
I want to jump into the story in Denver, Colorado. There was an article. I'll put a link to it in the show notes today. The headline said, petitioners challenge priest at Catholic Church in Denver, alleging loss of psychological safety. I just take that in just for a moment. The loss of psychological safety. It sounds like the parishioners at Most Precious Blood aren't happy with their pastor. What's the story?
Hey, Joe, this is a very charged article, obviously written by the secular press. I did some research on, I'm going to assume it's Father Cucci. I don't know how to say it. It's an Italian name. So I apologize. From your lips to God's ears. That sounds good to me. I apologize for my mispronunciation. He's a powerful young priest. He's from the Denver Seminary. He actually attributes his Catholic education to changing his life. He was apparently a very defiant and troublesome child who found his faith in Catholic school and then went on to the priesthood, and is very much in love with this parish, by the way. I went and read where he talked about his future planning after losing both one of his parents and one of his siblings in the same year. He talked about how he was leaving half of his assets to this church. And so He is an interesting priest and obviously a good shepherd and father to his flock. And I think his major problem, of course, Joe, is that he is preaching Catholic theology in his church, which I found really interesting. And the article in itself is obviously written by the secular press. They talk about him as a traditionalist. You and I know he's not a traditionalist. He's a conservative. Right. I'm pretty sure he's not saying the Latin Mass in this church. Number one. Number two, they're pre-Vatican II beliefs. He's preaching pre-Vatican II beliefs. Now,
things like purgatory, I guess, things of that nature, like having to go to confession, not shacking up with your same-sex gendered partner or whatever. I mean, the standard pre-Vatican.
Shame on him.
Yeah,
shame on him. Right? But no, seriously, Joe, this is obviously a very charged and very divisive article from the secular press. Let's point that out. It's not a Catholic article, and what he's preaching is Catholic doctrine. Doctrine didn't change after Vatican II, and these things that were sins before Vatican II are still sins today. And apparently his Easter homily was so polarizing because he said Satan makes hell look appealing and that people gravitate towards hell because Satan makes it pretty and pleasure-based. And I'm sorry, that's just good Catholic theology. I don't care who you are.
And it's obvious too, right? I mean, look, how many music videos do we have to have where they depict hell as just being one big party, one big rave party, good time, hedonistic and all the rest? Our popular culture embraces this idea all the time. So this isn't anything earth-shattering. It's just common sense. But I think it illustrates the point that some of these bishops are struggling with. I've seen this even in my own backyard here in the diocese that I live in. When you let these parishes get out of control and they go on for year after year after year, kind of being like little kingdoms in their fiefdoms, and the pastor who had spent the last 25 years assigned to that parish, he became a little king, and the bishop never rocked the boat by taking him out or reeling him in. Now this parish has been able to dwell in its ignorance for so many years that when the bishop finally begins the process of trying to reel him back in, this is the trouble they run into. This is clearly a community of very liberal-minded people who take heterodox positions when it comes to the Catholic faith, and they do not want to be corrected.
I agreed, Joe. And I'm reminded of the proverb that the father who spares the rod does not love the son. And your priest is your spiritual father. And it is the job of I'm going to call him Father Daniels just so I don't mangle his last name. It is Father Daniels' job to correct his parishioners and let them know what it is they are dancing with when they dance with sin. And the fact that they find this objectionable is interesting to me in that there's a term our Protestant brethren use called getting your ears tickled, how sometimes preachers will tickle your ears and tell you the things you want to hear. And apparently it's not just a Protestant thought. It's also Catholic. We, as sinners prone to concupiscence, we like to have our ears tickled and told we're not committing sin. And listen, Joe, I don't like to be corrected. You don't like it. None of us like to be corrected, but sometimes we need correction when we are steering down a wrong path. And, our Lord himself said the path is narrow and not many are going to make it. And so
the Pope just preached on that. And Pope Leo just yesterday preached on that. Don't be thinking you're saved just yet. I mean, you're going to get yourself in trouble. Hey, I want to play a little clip from the pastor at this parish because it's very, very telling, I think, about where he's coming from. And you can tell he's a young man, but have a listen to this. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. But this is the pastor responding to the petition to have him ousted after the Bishop of Denver, Aquila, supported the priest and not the parish. I want you to just know that the bishop supports his priest, which I think is amazing. Hats off to the bishop in Denver. But listen to the pastor here.
Did you sign the petition? Yes. Why?
Did you hear that? The pastor was asked, did you sign the petition to have yourself removed? He said yes. Listen.
St. Giambiani signed the petition for him to be ousted from his parish in Ars, France. He said he recognized that he was unworthy of the call he had received. I feel similar. To conclude, I have to say that my peace is underlined by the admonition, do not be afraid. And I'm not afraid. Hardship at this parish is nothing new to me. In fact, the suffering may actually be sowing seeds of a hitherto unseen fruitfulness. God gives the growth. He is in charge.
I think it's powerful. It's a powerful insight into this young man's faith to not be rocked simply because his community, his parish, is not liking the bitter pill of the gospel with which he's feeding them. And therein lies the reality. And Jesus today, in the gospel for today, in the Novus Ordo Mass, woe unto you. 8 times he said to the scribes and Pharisees, woe unto you. It seems like the scribes and the Pharisees are as much alive today as they've ever been. Would you think that's fair?
Oh, I think that's absolute truth, Joe. And nothing changes in the journey of man. The technology changes around us. We change the face of the world, but the heart of man is one and the same, and we're prone to all the same sins that our forebears before us 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 generations ago were. Let's be real honest, Joe. Sin ain't nothing new. And by the way, Joe, before we go down too dark a path, I read the article from the Denver Post. I did some other research. Giving is down 25% in this church, in this parish. I would assume, and maybe wrongfully so, but I would make the argument that 75% of the parishioners either don't care or they support Father Dan. And if that's the case, that should be noted. And I did just want to point that out. So, yes, there's a petition out there, but you and I both know there's always a vocal minority who are opposed to everything, whatever parish, anything that the pastor does. And I've seen this even in traditional communities where pastors struggle with a certain segment of their flock. And so this is not uncommon. I think in the traditional communities, you and I would argue maybe our pastors are not fire and brimstone enough sometimes, whereas in some of these more liberal parishes, they don't like anything bordering. By the way, having fallen away from the church 40 years, I've never heard an actual Catholic priest preach fire and brimstone. I've heard real fire and brimstone sermons from Protestant ministers. I've never heard a Catholic rail that way ever in my life. Maybe you have, Joe.
And it's rare, but it's far more rare. Most homilies, I would argue, even in my traditional community, they're good, but they're very subtle. They're very even keeled. There's not a lot of roller coaster ride type of emotions during them, and again I can't even remember the last time I ever heard the word Vatican II, that phrase Vatican II, ever said during a homily. Like I can't even remember
I've never
ever
heard
came up ever. So I mean, there's myths and misconceptions on both sides of the Catholic aisle, so to speak. But apparently, what I see is a young priest who's been. Sounds to me like he's been decently well formed in the seminary and has now been about the business of recatechizing this parish. And they're just not taking to it.
This is a priest who had a life-changing experience, much like yourself, who was saved from a road of anger and sin. And so that has impacted the entirety of his life. And that's not me saying it. I read him say that. I read his words. He said this, that he was saved from a life of anger and sin. And so this is a man who is doing this out of a place of love, Joe. He wants all his parishioners to be saved. He wants them all to get to heaven. And that's his job as their spiritual father. And listen, I said it at the beginning of what I said, and I'll say it again towards the end. The father who spares the rod does not love the son. If you truly want your children to go to heaven, you will do everything as a father, whether it's biological or spiritual, to ensure they go to heaven, up to laying down your life. And the fact that this priest, Father Dan, signed this petition tells you how much he loves those who hate him. And so, Joe, I'm actually very moved by this man. He is he is a warrior for Our Lady, and he's a warrior for Christ. And
but I got to tell you, I know of another priest. I know of another priest who was in a very, very similar situation in the Archdiocese of San Antonio. He preached. I would probably say, dare I say, he probably preached fire and brimstone pretty hard. I mean, he's a go-getting, no-nonsense kind of a guy, Father Clay. And it got him fired. The bishop did not support him in that cause. And now that man is a canceled priest. Unfortunately, he's an incredible priest, dedicating his life still to this day. It's an amazing and difficult story altogether. Whereas in this case, the Archbishop in Denver, Aquila, he said, while our parishes remain a center for community, they exist first for the community with Christ. It is the responsibility of the pastor as delegated by the Archbishop to follow this guidance, no matter how well-intentioned and heartfelt other ideas may seem. Bishop Aquila, thank you for supporting your priest in this situation.
God bless him.
Praise be to God. Hold the line. It's inspiring. It's inspiring. Mike Koeniger, you going to come back and hang out with us in the after show? Praise be to God. Play some ACT bingo today. ACT bingo.
That's the plan.
If we're going to have a good time, prizes are at stake. But coming up after the break, we're going to have a conversation about the most powerful saints in exorcism. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and here are your headline news. Ground News reports Israel airstrike hits Gaza hospital, killing at least 15, including journalists. On Monday, Israeli strikes on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis killed at least 15 people using a double tap pattern that hit rescuers after the first missile. The Israeli military said it targeted Hamas militants allegedly operating from a hospital command center, with attacks on medical facilities in Gaza reoccurring throughout the 22-month war. The Hill reports Trump threatens to send the military to Baltimore to clean up the crime. President Donald Trump stated that he might deploy the National Guard to cities including Baltimore as part of a crime crackdown similar to that in D.C. Maryland Governor Wes Moore criticized Trump's comments, emphasizing that the homicide rate in Baltimore is the lowest in decades. Trump referred to Baltimore streets as out of control and suggested interventions in cities run by Democrats. And Mayor Brandon Scott argued that Trump's claims distract from real issues, asserting that crime is down. It's been the best it's been in over 50 years. The Catholic Herald reports Vatican drops the SSPX pilgrimage from official Jubilee 2025 calendar. The Vatican appears to have quietly removed all mention of the Society of St. Pius X from the official Jubilee 2025 website calendar, despite earlier listings. While all other pilgrimages, past, present, and future, remain listed, the SSPX pilgrimage is conspicuously absent now. Bishop Fiscicelli, the prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization and delegate for the Jubilee, had previously stated publicly that the Jubilee belongs to all people. Apparently not the SSPX, despite their almost 10,000-person pilgrimage with a mass at a basilica just last week. And those are your headline news. Praise be to God in all things. There's a brand new book out at sophiainstitute.com. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. The Most Powerful Saints and Exorcisms, What Exorcists Want You to Know. Charles Fraune is on with us right now. Patrick O'Hearn may join us shortly, but Charles, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Joe. Good to be back on.
Praise be to God. It's great to have you back on. All right, so this is a pretty good title here, The Most Powerful Saints in Exorcisms. I want to start with, though, the litany of the saints. I liked in the intro, in the beginning of the book, we hear more about the litany of the saints and its history and origin. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, so the litany of the saints is one of the very first things that the exorcist does in an exorcism, which is something that I kind of glossed over in my previous research for my books like Slaying Dragons. But when we started doing this focus, I realized, one of the first things they do is kneel together, the exorcist, his team, the possessed person, if they're cooperative, and pray and invoke all the saints from this litany of the saints, which goes back to like the 4th century. This is the most ancient litany. We have tons of litanies, but the most ancient is the litany of the saints, and it was really built around the martyrs. And you can see that in the traditional mass and in the mass itself. The saints that are invoked are primarily the martyrs. Those are the first ones recognized, invoked, celebrated, because the church was a church of martyrdom for the first 400 years or 300 years, however you want to calculate it. So the Litany of the Saints has some of the greatest saints they've added to it. Of course, St. Francis is in there too, so it's been added to. I don't know, I didn't track how it was added to and expanded, but they add the pillars. The pillars are there. And it's also very long. It's not just the saints pray for us. It's all these other invocations. It keeps going and going. And one neat thing, too, from my research is all 3 volumes of the Roman ritual, one of which has the rite of exorcism. All 3 volumes have the Litany of the Saints in it because it's everywhere. It's in all kinds of sacramentals, all kinds of blessings. The church is really serious about invoking the saints.
Yeah, and if you think about the role of the saints, I mean, too many Christians, Protestants, non-Catholics, and even some Catholics struggle with it, honestly, this idea of going to a saint, asking a saint to intercede for you. Why not? I can just go right to God. Why do I got to go through a saint? Why do I got to go through Mary? And yet the history of the church, you go back to the graffiti wall and the tomb of St. Peter, back to the 1st century, and you see all these pilgrims that etched into that wall. They wanted to be as close to Peter's bones as they possibly could. And there were so many accounts of masses being said on the tomb, in the catacombs of the martyrs there. It's just an amazing thing to think Jesus gave more than just himself to us. He gave us his mother, his apostles, and the brothers and sisters that have gone before. It really is a family affair, and I think that's expressed even more acutely in the rite of exorcism.
Yeah, and you made a good point. If we remember the great prophet Elisha, or Elisha, or however you want to say his name, they buried somebody on top of his bones, and that dead man came back to life. Right. And then who do we have now with the new covenant? The new covenant, John the Baptist, the greatest of the prophets, is the greatest of all men born of a woman. So, of course, St. Peter and the apostles who are given the power of Christ himself are even greater than John the Baptist and even greater than the prophets from the old covenant. So, of course, the saints, the apostles' saints especially, are going to perform miracles. Are going to be places where the focus of the Holy Spirit, the power of the Holy Spirit is located in a very intense way. And if you follow the liturgy, the liturgical calendar, the church depends on the saints, revolves around the saints, and takes them seriously. Like today's the Feast of King St. Louis. And if you read the opening prayer, it talks about how through his intercession, we may have a deeper fellowship with the King of Kings. This earthly king who's become a saint is now in heaven, can intercede for us and obtain for us a deeper fellowship with the King of Kings. This is the role of the saints, and we see it powerfully, as you pointed out, as we have pointed out in the book, the most powerful saints in exorcisms. They're showing up. They're showing up in this wonderful, spectacular gift
look
of the
like?
church.
I think most Catholics don't even know that saints come to and appear during exorcisms. You've interviewed a number of exorcists, as have I, but for the book in particular, can you just explain, what does that look like? What do they see the saint? Do they hear the saint? Does the possessed know the saint's there? I mean, what does it look like?
Yeah, so it's in one sense, though it goes beyond, an angel is present and active in the world when his influence is felt. But it's typically mysterious, typically invisible. But sometimes angels can take a bodily form and walk around. So this is very different. The way the saints and the exorcisms operate is often similar, but different. Their presence is felt when they're going through the litany of the saints and they name a certain saint. Everybody's watching the possessed person all throughout the exorcism just to see what's working, what's not working. If they name a saint, sometimes there'll be a reaction, a really strong reaction, maybe an angry reaction, or the person will go like rolling the eyes, or something will happen. If they name a saint that is established as a nemesis, and we can get into that, a nemesis to this demon, sometimes the demons will react during the exorcism if the saint shows up. So when the saint shows up, it's not a bodily form. It's not an apparition. This is very important. Something we had to learn in our research. Like, how are they showing up? What's going on? There's a presence. The demon can see it. The exorcist can't. The possessed person sometimes can, but that's usually just a gift. It's not a natural vision. They'll see the saint standing behind the exorcist, for example, and they'll scream. They'll hear the saint commanding. The demon will hear the saint commanding him, like, you must depart, and the demon will cry out, like, they say I have to leave now. And the exorcist is like, who are you talking about? Like, what are you seeing? Because I can't see this. But they're powerfully and mysteriously present, and they help end the exorcism much faster.
Hey, Patrick O'Hearn has joined us. He is also the co-author of this book, The Most Powerful Saints in Exorcisms, What Exorcists Want You to Know, by SophiaInstitute.com. We'll put a link to it, I guess, as well in the show notes. But Patrick, welcome and good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We jumped straight into the litany of the saints and their role in exorcisms. One of the fun things is apparently the demons aren't very happy about certain saints showing up, maybe saints from their own past. And they have colorful names for these saints. They don't actually like to name names, do they?
They don't, even, and it's interesting, even in the book, there was a part, even with the rosary itself, they had some choice words for the rosary, or, they call Mother Teresa, that little one, Our Lady, that one, St. Padre Pio, the bearded one, because a name has power. And I'm sorry I was delayed coming in here. As Charles, we were on another interview, and I was talking about, the devil didn't want this book to come out because, the saints, the demons call the saints the assassins, and they really are. Another name I like to call them is the snipers. They're Our Lady snipers, and they're just waiting to assist us and to take out these demons because they fought these same demons their whole life, and these demons are now attacking us, so they want to come to our aid.
Okay, so what about... Does the exorcist get a choice in calling for certain saints? Does the possessed get a say in what saints they might want to participate in the exorcisms? How does that work? Either or.
Yeah, so it all starts with the litany, and then those are the major saints that the church prescribes, the litany. So those are the saints you go to first. And so all of those are great and wonderful. But then the exorcist can bring in certain saints, like if it's the feast day, a lot of exorcists will pick a feast day, especially a solemnity like the Assumption, to do the exorcism on. So then you have that special power from Our Lady on her feast day, because the saints do wield an extra authority, an extra intercessory power, however you want to word it, on their feast days. And the exorcists have seen it, like St. John the Baptist. We have a story there from Father Ripperger, who we have in the book. So they'll invoke that saint. They'll invoke sometimes the patron saint of the possessed person. If the exorcist is a member of a religious order, or let's say the possessed has some attachment in the family, donations to a religious order, they'll invoke that saint, the founder of that saint, of that order. If they have relics present, they'll invoke the saint of the relic, and of course bring the relic in. That's a whole nother dimension. But so there is some expressiveness, some charisma, a charism, if you have a discernment, the exorcist has to bring in certain saints in addition to the rite, but you always follow the rite first.
Patrick, let's go back to you. There's a great story in the beginning of the book about the time that JP2 performed an exorcism. I remember when that came out right after his death, that story broke. Tell us that story.
So Father Morth brought a young girl, and basically, I think Father John Paul II, with the rite of exorcism, it is a private nature. You don't. That's why we don't have it broadcasted on TV. It's a very intimate thing, and so he pulled aside the young girl. And I always get confused with there's so many exorcisms in this book. I get confused, and maybe Charles can add to what I forgot. But he pulled her aside. I think it was on away from St. Peter's Basilica, and performed the exorcism, and she was delivered on the spot. And the same thing, I think it happened even with, I want to say, Pope Benedict as well. There was an exorcism that he performed as well. And so again, it just shows you, John Paul II, even when he was alive, every bishopric is given that gift of exorcism. But even when John Paul was, alive, he wasn't doing a lot of exorcisms. There's only a handful, of maybe 2 or 3 that are documented, right? But I mean, just even now, that's why we talk about him, that he is even more powerful. We think about the saints and their mission didn't just end when they died. It actually began. It's just the beginning. And so throughout all eternity until the end of time, these saints they're wielding very, God's given them incredible merit and grace to have an influence now.
Well, it's really about authority, right? At the end of the day. And that's why I like the story about John Paul II and in the inclusion of the book, is because the primary exorcist of every diocese is the bishop. And of course, the Pope, being the Bishop of Rome and obviously the supreme pastor of the church itself, also has this authority. And in this spiritual world, authority matters. That authority has to be delegated to a priest to perform exorcisms in order to have the appropriate authority, because these demons, they smell these things. They know that you don't have that authority. But yet there are occasions, and you sort of hint on this, where laity or non-priests have also exorcised demons. How is that?
Yeah, so with exorcism, to use it as a general concept, not just the rite, it functions from 2 sources, you could say, authority and holiness. So, and our Lord talks about this, that there were some people casting out demons in the time of the apostles. The apostles are upset because they don't walk with us. They're not part of us. He's like, don't stop them. It's this holiness that is casting out demons. It's not the authority. And so that's why a lot of the saints are showing up. So in an exorcism, it's a mix. You have the saints showing up from heaven with their holiness, with that power, mixing with the authority of the church to really have this double gun approach to casting out demons.
We're having a conversation with Charles Fraune and Patrick O'Hearn about their book, The Most Powerful Saints in Exorcisms. What exorcists want you to know, out right now at sophiainstitute.com. We'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. Charles and Patrick, again, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out with us today. There's a question in the chat here. I want to get to Our Lady in a moment, but I want to get to this question first. One of our viewers is curious. The saints that are involved in exorcisms, are they just the ones that are being canonized or have been canonized, beatified, on the process? Or are there people that are just in heaven that we don't really know about? Is that also an occasion? Is there any history of that? We'll go to Charles.
Yeah, so it seems to be, from our research, it's localized on canonized saints because they're recognized by their name and by their title. Often when like that bearded one is thrown out there, the exorcist will say, in the name of Jesus Christ, like, who are you talking about? Who is this person? And then they'll hint more strongly. And then the exorcist might say, are you talking about Padre Pio? And then the demon will scream. So you know that you've locked on to a canonized saint. Now, there was one exorcist who told me, I can't remember the details of the story because I'm not sure if we included it because he was the only one who gave the account. It might be in the Q&A in the back, actually, that his mother would occasionally intercede during his exorcisms. And the demon mentioned this to him. And she's not canonized, obviously. Maybe she was a holy woman. I can't remember what the exorcist told me about her. So it's possible, but I don't think we know. So, if you think about the power flowing from heaven is through the church. That's the power the church relies on. And that power is flowing through the rite of exorcism as a sacramental. So all the saints, everybody with all their merits in heaven that we don't even know about, all of that's contributing to the goodness and holiness and power of the church here. We just don't know those names.
Interesting. Patrick, tell me about the role of Our Lady in exorcisms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have a whole chapter on Our Lady, and she's kind of the closer. We say Our Lady slams the door. So when she shows up, it's over. Even in Father Rippinger talks about she's the nuclear bomb, and we have quite a few stories in here when she shows up. The demons just, again, they go ballistic, and this element of peace comes. When Our Lady comes, she brings her son's peace, and so when she comes, the demons, again, they're shrieking because they know game over. And so she is, this queen of humility. And that's why Satan hates her, because he's filled with pride.
Wow. So the demons are scared of her. They call the saints the assassins. I think that's very fascinating. And of course you have a list of some of these saints that are more common in there. I know I like the more common ones. Saint Padre Pio, Saint John Vianney, Saint Therese of Lisieux, Saint Francis. Saint Francis, not the patron saint of bird baths in your front lawn, okay? He's the stigmatized warrior saint who lived in a cave because his brothers were a wee bit too soft and worldly for his liking. Okay, this was a man's man kind of a saint. So I like the fact that Saint Francis is showing up. That's awesome. But I guess there are saints that I probably would have said that, no, they're probably living quietly in heaven and we're never going to hear from them again. But apparently they're showing up. Charles, why don't you tell us who's the more recent saints that exorcists are finding showing up here and there?
Yeah, and this was a fun aspect of our research because we expected the big guns to be the ones like Bellarmine, Borromeo, some of the great Pope saints, Pope St. Pius X. Like, where are all these mighty warriors that we celebrate? The doctors of the church, the gory. But a lot of those aren't. But then you have the new ones, like the young ones. St. Carlo Acutis, for example. He was one. He's brand new. He's blessed. He's going to be canonized very soon. And one of the reasons why is that they're on the exorcists are theorizing. They don't know. Saints show up as they'll show up. They show up as God wills them to show up. So you have Mother Teresa, Saint Maria Goretti. She's being invoked for people whose situations have to do with impurity, and she's exerting a certain kind of authority there. And of course, St. John Paul II. And then you have another one, Blessed Bartolo Longo. He was a converted satanic priest. He's about to be canonized. He died. Yeah, but he's one of the neat things there is he's not showing up. So there's this mystery. Like, that's the one, like, tell me stories about Blessed Bartolo Longo. Of course he's doing stuff. He's so powerful. And look at his story. But he's not showing up. So, but it seems to be that because these saints are new, they're on the minds of the church. A lot of people knew about them, watched them, maybe even were personal friends with them. I attended an audience with Pope St. John Paul II, not a private audience, but I saw him. So there's a greater power when we know that these saints were victorious. So these saints, I think, are showing up more quickly just because they're more current.
Is this not also a case for, like, one of the takeaways I would have to say for all of us is, before we ever get possessed, and pray God that never happens, perhaps we should be laying a little into our patron saints more than we currently do. Maybe developing that fostering that relationship with patron saints. I know at our house we have a private oratory, and on the altar wall of our oratory we have the icons of all the patron saints of our children and our family, so that we can be reminded of their intercession for us, praying that we also will join them in heaven in the beatific vision someday. How often do Catholics, I think, just sort of they might take that confirmation name, but they really don't engage. They really don't have that relationship, Patrick.
So true. I think even, when we pray the rosary, every family should be calling upon that saint, and especially on feast days, there's so much grace. Charles and I talk about this. The exorcists say on that saint's feast day, all these graces from heaven are being unleashed. And so take your child, my son, we named him after St. Jude, and, go on that feast day, celebrate that day. Again, I think in the culture we live in, Catholic parents aren't even naming their children after saints, and they're missing out here. So, again, these saints are our allies. They're our greatest friends. They should be our children's best friends. They should be family members that we talk about. We read their stories, and most of the saints, they wanted to become saints because they read the lives of the saints. So, again, let them be a part of our family.
What about guardian angels? Do the guardian angels participate in the exorcisms in the same way as saints, Charles?
Yeah, that didn't come up in our research. I would imagine they do. I mean, there is some, I think Monsignor Rossetti has talked about an angel from a certain rank is often, according to one of their mystics. So a lot of exorcists work with gifted individuals, with gifts that the church has kind of recognized, not officially, but has discerned with this person. You do have a legitimate insight. And they've sensed that certain angels, certain spirits from one of the ranks, I think maybe the powers, that level of angelic spirits, is interceding in a lot of exorcisms. There's a great story, behind the Exorcist movie. St. Michael interceded at the end of that exorcism to finally, break free this kid from this demon. So we know that they do, but our research did not uncover the role of the guardian angels. But you can just imagine, because the saints are placed as in fellowship with the angels. So the angels already have authority in heaven. Now the saints do. So if the saints are showing up, we know the angels are too. Amen.
We're down to the last 60 seconds here. Favorite saint from your research in exorcisms, Charles?
Patrick, you want to go first?
I'm going to say St. Francis Borgia. He's on our front cover, father of 8 children, lost his wife, and then he became a Jesuit. It was the premier exorcist of his time, and hopefully more Catholics will invoke his aid after reading this book.
Awesome. All right. So
I'd say St. John the Baptist. Yeah.
John the Baptist?
Yeah, St. John the Baptist was mine. He's an old favorite saint of mine, and I was like, oh, please show up somewhere in this research. And he did. Father Ripperger had a story. It was on his feast day, on St. John the Baptist's feast day, and he was referred to by the demon as a big boy.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite story was when Father Carlos Martins told me about the remains, the ashes of St. Joan of Arc, brought to an exorcism, and the demon howled. So that's a cool story too. Hey, praise be to God. The most powerful saints in exorcisms, What Exorcists Want You to Know by Sophia Institute Press. We'll link to the book. Charles, Patrick, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday to you. Is that a box Joe sings? No, it's not.
You're not allowed to
it
pick
doesn't
these.
count.
Joe, it is a box.
No, it's not.
It is a box.
It's Jake Sings is the box.
There's a Joe Sings box.
No,
I
there's
made the
not.
boxes. Trust me.
Stop it. All right, so
Mike, did you want to try on Opal, or are you back on the vMix?
I'm back on the vMix.
Okay, probably just easier.
We're not going to deal with that echo, and I didn't know I was throwing your guests off. Apologies,
yeah,
Jake.
thanks there, Mike.
Kicking
Just,
poor
kick
Patrick
our
off.
guests
I know.
Straight off. Do you guys see that? Man, oh man.
This is
All
what
right.
I get for always being early when I'm scheduled, isn't it? I end up
And that
throwing my guests
doesn't
off.
count as tech issues for those of you in playing bingo. That doesn't count as tech issues.
Doesn't
Oh, should I send the link again?
I think it
I
does
was
count.
gonna
I
say,
think it
man,
does count as a tech issue, and I'm going to tell you why. Who's the judge, by the way? Is Joe the judge on what's the tech issue and what's not?
Yeah, why not?
I'm going to argue it was because
mean,
the producer did not tell me.
As the
not
Holy
to
Roman
come.
Emperor, I'm going to argue I have supreme authority, so I should be able to
So,
judge
Joe,
whether or not
the
something is a
producer
tech
did
issue.
Not tell me not to come in early.
Well, I
He
don't.
did
I
not.
don't schedule the guests.
It's not a tech issue. It's a scheduling issue.
Listen,
These
I
are
take
different things.
Listen, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault.
See what I got to deal with. All right, so
My
speaking
favorite
of not
Donald
your
Trump
fault,
quote.
Speaking of not your fault, how do folks get a bingo card?
Great question, Joe. I'm glad you asked it. Try the link in the YouTube chat. See if that works, and if it works, I'll put it in the other chats. Tell me if that gives you a bingo card.
Does it give us a bingo card? I see a bingo card, but my card already has boxes checked.
Does it? What number is that bingo card?
6346.
Oh, that's your previous. That's the one you previously opened, I think.
Yeah, it's one that opened up again.
Yeah,
when
so
I clicked your link.
that's your card. So why don't you uncheck those boxes and then you can start over? So.
Oh, I have to physically uncheck everything to get back to square zero.
Yes, correct. Does everyone else?
Joe, you're not allowed to play your own card,
Yeah,
Joe.
exactly.
I'm sorry, you can't win the prizes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so can we put that same link
There's
in
a lot of
everywhere
people in the
else?
chat just chatting and not actually telling me whether the card works.
Hey, that's on them. They want prizes, then they can click the link.
Let me know. Yeah. I got to figure this out.
So
if we
I
could
go
put the
away a
link
week.
elsewhere.
I go away a week to a place with no internet, which, by the way, was absolutely glorious. And you all come up with this bingo for the after show. So
See what
I have
happens?
no clue. I have no clue what the bingo cards say. I have no clue what it's about. So if I give you a check on your box, I expect some some payback here, folks. So make
payback.
sure I get some payback.
You want kickbacks, so that's what you want. You want
Absolutely.
kickbacks. Okay.
I take it in prayers and good thoughts, though. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come up with a prize pack. The idea is to play until a bingo is called. Now, the other idea is I don't really want to stop and think about what's on that card. I don't want to try to hit all of those things. We're just going to go about our normal business, okay? Yeah. And then it just goes on from there. So the links are in. Is it in the Telegram as well?
It is not in the Telegram yet, but it is there in the. I can share it. Let me find it in the.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
All right, so then I see it. It's on Rumble. I see that it's been posted to the chat in YouTube's, and it's going to be in the Telegram here in a moment when Jake puts it there. And then I guess you'll be ready. You'll have your card you can play, and it's going to be on you when you call bingo. You're going to want to send a screenshot to us. How do you do that? Well, if you go to our landing page, you can find the contact us there. ACT. It's ACT at thestationofthecross.com, I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
ACT at thestationofthecross.com. By the way, I've been meaning to do this and haven't done it. All right, the link's in the Telegram. I've been meaning to do this and haven't done this in a while. We do have an audio-only podcast feed of the show. So if you're into audio podcasts, would you consider subscribing to it? You can get that also from our landing page, thestationofthecross.com/ACT. You can get the audio podcast. You can subscribe whether it's Apple iTunes, Google, or Spotify, wherever you listen to your audio podcast. I'd be very grateful if you would subscribe and then obviously leave us a review if you can. Especially on iTunes. That would be very helpful. Spotify, that'd be very helpful. It helps us to reach a new audience. I'd be very grateful to you if you do that.
Quick note on that, Joe. If you subscribe to the podcast, please, even if you've already listened to the show live and you're not going to listen to it on the audio podcast, download the show because Apple and Spotify love the download numbers. And that's a huge help. You can download it, then you can delete it, and that helps the metrics big time. So please, and by the way, those 5-star reviews, I always tell people, Joe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Leave us a 5-star review, even if you don't like us, and then tell us what you don't like in the comments. But please leave that 5-star review. Not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 5. And 5
Amen.
really helps.
5 is the way to go on that. And if you can't leave 5, leave 10. Yeah, that's what I say.
Yes.
That would be helpful.
Or vote twice.
Vote twice. 100%. Vote early and often. That's what I say. That's the way to go.
There you go.
Hey, let me give some shout outs here. Praise be to God and all things. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday. Eileen, I see you there. Paul, our friend from Buffalo. Good morning to you. What? You've got insider bingo information. Are you hanging out in the studio with Jake again? Has he been telling you
Probably.
how to daub the boxes quicker? I don't know. Damon, good morning to you. Jack is back. Good morning, Jack. Thanks for hanging out. In your charity, what is the best apologist to hear or read defending Catholicism versus Orthodoxy? And just in case you know, also the other way around. Thanks so much. I don't know. I know there was that Timothy Gordon debate, but Timothy really thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not sure I agree. But I don't. Jake, do you have any? You ever listen to any Orthodox Catholic debates?
Not
I'd
really.
say Christian Wagner's fantastic.
He probably has some good stuff. Yeah. I really don't. Just because it's such a cut and dry issue for me, I've never bothered to get into the
look into it.
Look into the
weeds.
debates between both, because it's like, well, you either accept the Pope or you don't, right? Like it's a pretty cut and dry position. It's not like like, oh, let's try and figure out how to convince a Protestant about like the truth of Catholic doctrine, through the Bible or something like that. I've probably heard more of that because it's kind of more of it's more of an argument thing. Like, to me, the papacy always seemed so cut and dry that it's like, I mean, that's really just a matter of stubbornness.
I would agree. Even from the early church fathers. I mean, I've mentioned Clement of Rome. The man it was like 80s, 90s AD. He writes a letter to the Corinthians expressing, he felt he had the right to speak to them as their supreme pastor in 80s, 90s AD. So just because we don't have like the papal tiara just yet, or the throne that they're carried upon, or used to be carried upon, or St. Peter's Basilica doesn't exist quite yet, doesn't mean that the papacy wasn't there, even if it wasn't called the papacy just yet.
By the way, speaking of the papal tiara, because I think maybe some of you will remember that I predicted maybe last week, whenever it was, a few shows ago, that the papal tiara and the sedia gestatoria, the chair that the Pope is carried in, I predicted those would return 2 popes from now, and I predicted that would come after the Pope who restores these will come after the pontificate of Cardinal Frank Leo of Toronto.
That was one of the boxes.
Cardinal Frank Leo of Toronto will succeed Pope Leo XIII. Sorry,
he's
Leo
calling
XIV.
it right now, folks.
I have inside information.
Write it down.
I have inside information. Write this down now.
Day.
Inside information that Cardinal Frank Leo, when he's elected, will be Pius XIII.
Will he be called Pope Frank? That would be great.
No, he will be Pius XIII. I have insider
I want
info
him to be
that he will
called
be
Pope
Pius
Frankie,
XIII.
though. Pope Frankie would be cool.
Well, yeah, because just like the one, so we call him Pope Bob, right? Pope Bob. Our current Holy Father is Pope Bob.
Bobby.
Everyone calls him Bob. But Cardinal Frank Leo, he's like an Italian from Quebec. It's really fascinating. He's a fascinating guy. But he has
we've never had a Canadian
excellent
Pope,
aesthetic
so
taste. Exactly.
It'd be kind of cool. Might as well. We did South America. We're doing North America now.
We're moving on up. Next one will be Greenland.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Next one will be Iceland.
Greenland. Here we go. Mary, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Glad to have you on the team today. Thanks for being a part of it. Damon's here. I said that earlier. Praise Jesus. Sharon, good morning, Sharon. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well today. Hopefully you're feeling well. Where in the world are you, Sharon? You guys still on the road? Have you headed back to New Hampshire? Or are you going
Indiana,
south?
if I remember right.
Indiana?
Isn't she in? Yeah, I think they're getting their RV fixed.
So, wow, no kidding. My most of my family's from Indiana.
Indiana or Illinois. I can't. One of those I states.
Which reminds me, I'm going to ask you in your kindness to pray for my grandmother and my grandfather, obviously very elderly, struggling with that chapter of their life. I'd be grateful to you. Hey, Alberto, good morning to you. Both Albertos. I've got 2 Albertos in the chat. Good morning to both of you. Praise be to God. Chesty, good morning to you.
I'm seeing double here. 4 Albertos.
Jesse, good morning. Douglas Remigius, good morning to you, my friend. You are on the team. Couldn't be more grateful to you, Doug. Thank you so much for that. Des Farrell, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Des does not like your volume, Jake. You want to know why that is, Des? It's because he's the wizard behind the curtain.
Is this any better?
He's the producer. And the producer has all of the buttons in the control center, and that is why he speaks in weird ways.
Because he is from the pit.
So someone called Charles and Patrick back. We need some help.
What?
Here.
Sorry, what? What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, was
what
that?
Happened? Okay.
It's a voice from beyond.
I don't understand.
Get them back here. Start the litany.
Stop doing that to Joe's volume.
Joe, you didn't ask them about if Mussolini intercedes.
Mussolini.
I should have put Joe's voice changer on that. I'm starting a new list for the next round of bingo. We have to add some categories here.
Joe has found some buttons.
I'm putting Joe's voice changer on there.
Why would you let him have any kind of control? Come on.
I didn't install that. That was Mike. Mike Patino installed that.
Was that a tech issue? I'm not sure. It might have been.
That's not a tech issue. That was entirely deliberate.
Deliberate.
Joe's voice changer, and then Joe's sound effects. I'm adding both of those.
Between that and the knucklehead who gave him that button set that he's using, by the way.
Thank you. Definitely isn't my fault. That's all I know. Dave's Jew93, good morning to you. Shouldn't Joe say, let me throw another log onto the fire via space? I don't know, Dave's Jew. Do I say that very often? Let me throw another log on the fire? I don't know. We'll have to think about that. Gary Oldman, says Alberto. Okay. Is that a box? Gary Oldman? We say Gary's name enough for it to be a box? I'm not sure. I like Gary Oldman, though. Fantastic actor. Improximus, good morning to you. Tech illiterate to this degree. I'm not seeing a link to the card. I'll just follow along. There's a link above. You got to scroll up. You got to look under Producer Jake on the YouTube chat. He set the link earlier. If you can repost it again, I guess that makes it more obvious. That'd be good. Marv, good morning to you. Marv, thanks for hanging out with us today. Appreciate you being on the team. Helen Grace, good morning to you. Napoleon is back. And I'm glad you got an answer to your question. That was awesome. You're welcome. Little Daisy's here. I haven't seen Little Daisy in a while. Good morning to you, Little Daisy. Thanks for being on the team. Our previous parish priest was an exorcist, but none of us knew it at the time. He blessed our home and all of our St. Benedict medals. At the time, I was thinking how good his Latin was. Oh, so there's the question. Does he use the extraordinary form of exorcism or the more recent form of exorcism? There's a lot of criticisms about the argument about the Book of Blessings. Like the more recent Book of Blessings, it gets a lot of pushback because it lacks a lot of gravitas that the old form had.
Many priests who aren't necessarily even TLM exclusive priests. These are priests who say the ordinary
Novus Ordo
form.
guys.
Yes, but they're several of them, and I've heard not directly, but I've heard them report that bishops have basically said the same thing. The Book of Blessings basically doesn't bless anything. There's almost nothing in it that is actually a blessing of an object or a sacrament or any of these things. It doesn't actually bless things. It just they're nice prayers, but they don't really actually bless things in the way that the Roman ritual traditionally blesses things. So I know of several just, normal Novus Ordo diocesan priests, and I've heard even a couple bishops kind of on the quiet don't even use it. They just use the old Roman ritual blessings. So
there you go. There you go. So encourage them to use the old one. Mm-hmm. They probably are, to be honest with you.
Just be careful because I'm pretty sure that the English translations of the old Roman ritual are still not approved.
Really?
So using the English translation, like the Weller, that's a common one to see out there is the Weller English translation of it. Those are not to be used for the blessings. They're not approved translations. It's supposed to be in the original Latin.
As a public service, those of you who had Jake as a liturgy nerd, you can go ahead and check that box right now.
Why are you being Captain Obvious, Mike? They're supposed to pay attention and follow along, not just be
I'm just going to help them out.
Do you want to Do you want to hold their hands and cuddle them? I mean, like, come on.
Yes,
Wow.
I am, because I knew that we couldn't go a whole after show without Jake going down that rabbit hole. So,
Thank you to I gotta call him out by name because he recommended it here. Das Evangelium.
Jawohl.
Sehr gut. Willkommen. It would be Das Evangelium is what it would be in German. But anyway, he recommended you need to read the speech from Pope Leo today. It is a bomb. And then heart on fire emoji. And I checked it out. Rorate Caeli has a partial translation of it. Right now it's only in French. But this was an address to French altar servers, quite fittingly on the feast of Pope Leo IX of France. And here are the 2 paragraphs. This is great, especially this first one here, but both of them. Dear friends, I thank you for your commitment. You are doing your parish a great and generous service, and I encourage you to persevere faithfully. When you approach the altar, always keep in mind the greatness and holiness of what is being celebrated. Mass is a time of celebration and joy. How indeed can we not have joy in our hearts in the presence of Jesus? But Mass is also a serious, solemn moment, marked by gravity. May your attitude, your silence, the dignity of your service, the beauty of the liturgy, the order and majesty of the gestures, draw the faithful into the sacred grandeur of the mystery. I also hope that you will be attentive to the call that Jesus may address to you to follow him more closely in the priesthood. I address myself to your young, enthusiastic, and generous consciences, and I am going to tell you something that you need to hear, even if it may cause you some concern. The shortage of priests in France and throughout the world is a great misfortune, a misfortune for the Church. May you, little by little, Sunday after Sunday, discover the beauty, the happiness, and the necessity of such a vocation. What a wonderful life that of the priest who, at the heart of each of his days, encounters Jesus in such an exceptional way and gives him to the world. How about that?
Does that count as Pope-splaining?
I didn't explain nothing. I just read it out loud. I just read it out loud.
Very eager. I don't know.
This was good.
That was good,
great.
Actually. That was very good.
That was really
Praise
good.
be to God. But does it?
Rorate Caeli. Well, hey, Rorate Caeli commented right after that, we dodged a bullet. So there you go.
We dodged a bullet. Well, hopefully that's true.
Yep.
Hey,
Amen.
Susie, good morning to you. Praise be to God. One of our altar boys is becoming a Benedictine monk. Praise be to Jesus. That's awesome.
Very good.
That's awesome.
Scroll up to Nick's comment.
Who's?
Nick's.
Nick's? What Nick's? I'm looking for Nick's.
Traditional
the traditional Thomas.
Back in the chat.
I love that Jake knows all of nerdy Catholic stuff. It gives me hope that Catholic nerds can indeed get married. Traditional Thomas. I just think we should urge some caution here. It's not quite October.
Yeah.
I don't think we should put the cart before the horse just yet.
There's still a month and a half to...
His fiance may be listening, and we don't want to, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
we don't want to... That would be awkward.
Let's not burn our chickens before we cross them here.
Yes,
okay?
Exactly. 100%. Let's just go a wee bit cautious. Hey, speaking of the traditional Thomist, we should get you back on the team to talk about the whole, SSPX, they're on the calendar, they're off the calendar. Can we just pick a side here and go with it? What are we doing? I'm not an SSPX guy.
I'll bet it was Cardinal Burke's fault.
I'm not an SSPX guy. I don't go to the chapel. I'm an FSSP. I'm on the team, but it's just bizarre. They put them on the calendar, rightfully so. They had been there in 2000. Time to have them back. They had 8,000 to 10,000 people show up. They were given permission to say masses and even had a mass at one of the major basilicas. It's all great. It was exciting. It was joyous. There was beautiful imagery coming out. And then they removed them from the calendar. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's just bizarre.
They also took the pictures of their pilgrimage down from the Vatican site. So
why?
Which I found to be, I don't know.
Bizarre. Give them permission and then take it all away. What is with that?
I'm more of the three of us. I think I'm the one who has the most experience with the SSPX. And
you're out there, bro.
Even though I belong to Father Michael Cunningham's parish, though, which is FSSP, I am not. I'm a Unite the Clans guy. Let me just be real bold and honest about that.
Okay,
including
Mr. Remnant Michael Matt guy. Okay.
Hey, Michael Matt's a big part of my journey back to the faith, and I'll admit it right
here
on your show. So
I'm only I like him.
No. Well, my point being that have been to all kinds of Latin masses all over, and I don't discriminate against any of them. And I like the conservative Novus Ordo churches that I attend from time to time. I think they're great too. So I just think it's interesting that the SSPX, who under a much more liberal pope, in my opinion, was welcomed and appreciated, all of a sudden are being taken off the website.
But
of the Vatican
last week they just made the announcement that they're on the calendar. So what are we doing? Why is it one last week and different this week? Like, what changed? Anything?
Well,
Did anything change over the last week?
No,
I don't know.
I think
besides the 8 to 10,000 person pilgrimage that happened.
Well, like I said,
in the middle.
I'm half joking, but Cardinal Burke did meet with Pope Leo, and Cardinal Burke thinks the SSPX is in schism. So
good times. Thanks, Your Eminence.
But then again, we also know that basically there are people in especially Vatican media who control a lot of this stuff that kind of like acting on their own. This has been well established, and it took they literally they were still putting up Rupnik art until someone finally got them the memo. Hey, you need to take all this stuff down.
They still have Rupnik art. It's not completely gone.
Where? What do you mean? Like on past items?
Like Lourdes, like St.
That's not Vatican media. I'm talking about Vatican media site. The Vatican media site. That's what I'm referring to, because
that a nickel means nothing to me.
This is a completely different. This is a completely different topic. I'm talking about Vatican media website and putting up photos and having calendars out there. They were the ones who started putting up Rupnik art again after Pope Leo's election, and then someone gave them the memo and they took it down off of all of that. This is Vatican media specifically, not about these other locations that are not directly controlled by Vatican media. So the point is that who knows who this might have just been a thing where maybe putting it on was not officially sanctioned by the Vatican, and so they took it down. Or maybe putting it up, some people were like, we don't want to have that up there, take that down. No one's going to notice that it got taken down. And maybe people are noticing that it got taken down after all.
They noticed.
They noticed.
The Catholic Herald noticed.
It'll be interesting.
They're the ones who announced that they were added last week, and now they're the ones noticing that they were taken
And the thing is, it was added. It wasn't even on every iteration of the calendar. It was only on certain languages of the calendar, I think.
Bizarre.
It's a very weird thing.
Oh, really?
Very weird thing.
Yeah,
it is weird, and I hope the Pope, our Pope, goes ahead and clarifies this whole matter and deals with this politics with the SSPX. By the way, Joe is right in that we all want that Rupnik art purged from every Catholic site all over the world.
From the planet.
Absolutely.
I want it purged from the planet.
From existence.
From wherever it may be
it should all
found.
be obliterated.
Obviously, it's in Jake's collection. I want it purged there, too. Like, gone, burned,
Jake did not
destroyed.
Say that, Joe. Jake did not say that.
He's got the single eye guy. I know he does. He's got the two heads melded together with a single eye. I'm sure he does.
Oh, I do have that one. I know it's 3 heads. It's 3 heads.
It's 3 heads.
It's 3 heads. Have you seen that one? That awesome old medieval. That one's so good. I'm sharing that again because it's awesome.
No way.
This is an old painting from 1500s, I think. This is great. A painting of it's a depiction of the Holy Trinity, and it's depicted as 3 persons who are identical. And
with one eye?
No, with they have what would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4 eyes. Fascinating. Really
for
cool.
3 people.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's amazing.
You put that in the Telegram?
I'm going to share it in the Telegram. Yep. Telegram insiders will get it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Rupnik's art was covered up in Lourdes, but was not in Fatima.
It was.
Well, from my understanding, they did cover it up in Lourdes. But then I read another article, I don't know, a couple months back that said they uncovered it in Lourdes. Is it covered today? I can't tell you. I don't know. But it sounds like they're waffling back and forth. But nonetheless, it still exists. We had a conversation with Donny McManus, who I went on pilgrimage with, who is he is an artist and an expert in religious art. He has a studio outside of D.C. He's an amazing man. We talked about it. They need to destroy that art. They need to literally destroy it with jackhammers, he said. Why? Because Rupnik's sexual, perverse, demonic crime was a part of his art process. So that art was created in connection to his crime. It wasn't like this guy who chooses to do bad things on the side also creates art. It's not like that. It's his crime was committed in the process of making art that's hanging on Lourdes, the crypt of Padre Pio. the shrine of the Knights of Columbus in Connecticut. Mike, you're the closest guy to the crime scene. You should go there with a jackhammer. I'm just like, we got to get rid of it all of it. It's got to go.
And Mike will not be joining us on Monday because he's currently incarcerated in the penitentiary in Connecticut. But no, Mike will not be.
No, they'll let you make a phone call. You could be on by phone.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We'll have you on
live from the Hartford County Jail. It's Mike Koeniger.
It's Mike Koeniger.
Wait, Joe McClain, you have a call from inmate number 130-972.
I just want my phone call.
I just want my phone call. Yeah.
I gotta be on the Monday show. I gotta be. Get back in
care
your cell.
packages too.
Just make him call in on Thursday so Brent can at least give him some legal advice at the end of the segment.
Brent doesn't have any squares in the bingo card.
That's true. Well, as I said, I have a whole list already started. I have a whole list of new items already started to add to the next round. So,
well, Joe, I do think you should ask me about my vacation. And
how was your vacation? Okay, I checked that box, Mike. Mike, I checked the box. I asked you. Okay, we can move on now. It's fine.
All right. Now, let me tell you though. I was on Lake Champlain, and the winds because of Hurricane Aaron got up really high. People's tents flew away, but I have a bell tent. Anything designed by the Mongolians can withstand wind. So
really,
the bell tent worked great. And then I went over to your favorite state, Joe, and did some serious motorcycling there. Went to the base of Mount Washington again, and did all that cool stuff. It's just as pretty as it always was, Joe.
It's so beautiful there, man. So gorgeous, New Hampshire. In fact, I've been contemplating this men's retreat experience while we hike the ridges of some mountains for 3 days. Okay, that's not the same as Rupnik art, though, Jake.
I know. I'm saying that's
beautiful.
Yeah,
that's not the creepy one-eye thing.
No, it's not the creepy one-eye thing. This is weird, isn't it? It's kind of weird.
It's weird. It is weird, but
it's cool.
It's more acceptable weird than
yes,
Rupnik.
Of course. Well, you can tell just looking at Rupnik. There's a soullessness to it. It is evil.
Evil.
Yep.
Anyway, what was I saying? I was thinking about the Pemi Loop. So the idea is we're going to take men, maybe fathers, sons, I don't know, on a retreat experience where we're hiking and camping on the tops of mountain ridges for 3 days. We're going to do morning office. We want to take a priest, so we have mass, confession, the office, 3 times a day, and talks all while hiking. And campsites are for just commiserating and getting rest, that kind of thing. So the Pemi Loop is one such option. There's another option I'm thinking about in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, because both like the Pemi, the one in the Ozark, you begin and end at the same parking lot, which is great. The ones on the Appalachian Trail are harder because you don't begin and end on the same parking lot, which means I have to have a person designated to moving a shuttle bus. That means that person is going to be alone for 3 days, not part of the team, not with the crew. So that makes that a lot harder. So I'm looking at trails that begin and end to the same parking lot, but also have like epic views and are kind of challenging and whatever. And I want to put a team together. I'm going to need a hiking master, someone in charge of the hike itself. I already have a guy lined up for leading the office. I've already got priests in mind to come along with. So I want to try to eventually put a team together. I don't know when we're going to do it just yet, but I've seen some people talking about.
How many miles are you looking at, Joe?
Oh, it's going to be a 3 day. It's going to be like a 3 night. So it'll probably be 40, 50 miles, maybe less. I don't know.
Okay,
35 to 50, somewhere in that neighborhood. Just depends on the trail, really, and the difficulty of the trail. But I want it to be doable. I don't want it to be like impossible or severe. I want it to be challenging, but not too hard. So, and I want the epic views. That's definitely. I want the mountaintop experience of it all.
You should be called the AC team.
The AC team.
Be great. The AC team.
How's it go? How's that go?
It's great.
Does that count as singing? Does that count as Jake singing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Does that count as singing?
I don't. You didn't say any words.
I didn't. Yeah,
you didn't
but he was
say any words.
I was humming.
humming. There's not a Jake's humming box. Yeah. He's got to sing. He has to.
You can count it. Well, let the guy who's actually in a band determine this.
Let the guy in a band determine it? Are you in a band? This is news to me. Is Jake in a band? Are you
the man who owns my CD?
I said Mike.
Question.
Oh, Mike is in the
let
band.
him determine.
I thought you were saying about yourself.
No.
I'm like, what? You're in a band? What band are you in? I mean, like, what are we talking about?
No, I've been
banned.
Joe, I've been banned.
You've been banned. That's true.
Banned in Boston.
Some people were talking about the Catholic Identity Conference coming up in Pittsburgh. That's coming up soon. I will not be going to that. I thought about going to it. I was contemplating it. But I'm getting ready to go to Idaho. I'm going to be in Idaho in September, filming for a movie, and then I'm going to actually when Jake does get married and takes off on his honeymoon, I'm also going to be taking off to go walk a pilgrimage. I'm going to do the Three Hearts pilgrimage out of Oklahoma at the monastery in Clear Creek Abbey in Oklahoma. It's like a 40-miler. I'm going to take my two middle sons with me to walk that, along with Father Alloy of Ask a Priest Live fame. We're going to go walk that. So that ought to be fun. Praise be to God. So I'll be doing that in October. So I'm not sure yet when we're going to be doing the men's retreat hike thing. I got to work on getting those details together. But I also might be giving a talk for Catholic Aggies, Texas A&M Catholics, who are in the business degree track over there. I met some of them yesterday. They've invited me to come out and give a talk. So that'll be in November. So I'm not. All of that said, that's probably why I'm not going to go to the Catholic Identity Conference, because of all of that. But hopefully you guys go and enjoy it. Praise be to God. Michael Matt whines. Does he really? I don't think he does. Go Gwenza. Does he really whine? I don't know. I think he's. I think he's one of the most encouraging. Glass half full trads I know.
He loves Holy Mother Church, and it comes through with everything he says and does. And I just have to be brutally honest about that. He's a good man.
He's way more positive and upbeat than most of us.
What Michael Matt does do, though, and he does it every one of his podcasts, is at the end he gets a little fire and brimstone, Joe.
Does he?
That's
okay.
Does.
I don't mind. Let it rip. Praise be to God. Let it rip.
He's a lot of. I think he's just a great
Did
example.
Did somebody call bingo already? There's no way, Dave's Jew, you did not call bingo. Did you call bingo?
He's calling bingo.
No
way. I'm waiting for the email.
You got to send the card. By email.
I just took a look at my card.
That was
and
fast.
I led a couple of those. New Hampshire's apparently on the card. I didn't know that. And terrible pun. I'm sure there was a terrible pun at some point. So now
there's no way. That was too fast. That was. Well,
there's no way we did all this.
We need
stuff.
to ACT at thestationofthecross.com. Dave's Jew has 3. Just sent it, he says. All right, we're waiting on verification now. Alberto asks, when do I plan on doing that retreat? I'm thinking maybe early spring, early spring. So it's still kind of cold.
Hey, I don't remember I don't remember some of these happening.
See, there you go.
Tell me what he's saying.
Dave's Jew. What's
Hang
up
on a
with
second.
that?
Joe, did you mention the Gesundheits?
Nope.
No.
Did we blame boomers for anything?
Not yet.
Nope.
Have any of us done a terrible accent yet?
Nope.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
What's up with that, Dave's Jew? Come on.
Were you counting stuff from last Friday?
I
maybe
think you were.
I think you were counting
stuff. The game starts today.
today.
Alberto, do you think we should do it during Lent? Are you saying yes for Lent or no for Lent? I'm thinking good would be good for Lent. No. I'm thinking it would be good.
That way you'd be hungry and tired.
Well, okay. No, listen. Our hiking master, which we need to recruit a hiking master, someone who's in charge of the hike itself. Listen, you're going to need calories. We're not going to go. You're going to be hiking up and down mountains. You need calories. There's no getting around that. But it might be great to do it during Lent. I don't know. That could be a fun retreat. All right. So he's on board for yes for that.
I think it would be a good. I think Lent would be a good time. It's kind of like doing any kind of retreat during Lent is probably a positive. I did the Advent retreat. I got more out of that Christmas than I had in many Christmases. So
the challenge
Joe,
is going to be.
You might want to think about Lent.
The challenge is going to be it's a region. Like if we do Manchester, New Hampshire, if we do Pemmy Loop, then everybody can fly into Manchester, and it's an hour and a half to get to the parking lot. It might even be 2. Up to it's right off the Kangamangas. You had to go. You got to drive.
I was just there yesterday.
So beautiful, isn't it? Good that Kang, man.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That Kang is so gorgeous. I love the Kangamangas. My wife and I spent
one of the best motorcycle rides in the Northeast too.
Man, back in the 90s, we used to drive up and down the Kangamangas. There was if you further up the Kangamangas, there's like a pond up there, but it's overgrown now. It didn't used to be that way. We used to park right off the side of the Kangamangas, and you'd be able to overlook this pond. Moose would swim in that pond. We would park there in the middle of the night, so we'd wake up at dawn to see if moose were in that pond. Man, we spent so much time on that railroad. So beautiful. But you got to go past Loon Mountain, and it's the first major parking lot on the left, past the river there, the Pemigewasset. And there's a ranger station there. That's what that's located. So that's about 2 hours or so from the airport down in Manchester. But if we do the Ozark one, the better part for me is I can drive to that from where I live, 6, 7, 8 hours. I can bring the priest with me. I can bring all the any stuff I would need extra. I can haul it in my van. Just a little easier to get back and forth logistically. But that airport's going to be a regional airport, which means you're definitely making connections. If maybe 2, I don't even know, depending on where you're coming from.
Maybe 2. A lot of the Manchester flights require 2 transfers. So,
well, I was just thinking about the Arkansas one. The Manchester airport's bigger than what's going to be available to you.
Yeah, but even that one's going to be a 2 transfer airport if you don't come from a major hub.
Maybe I don't know. Usually, when I fly to New Hampshire, it's a 1 transfer. We fly from here
you're flying out of Houston. You're flying out of Houston, Joe. If you're flying out of Newport News, Virginia, where I live, it's going to be 2. So it is what it is. So I think either of those are gorgeous. So and then what was your possible third option?
I was looking at some along the Appalachian Trail. There's some Carolina options. There's one near Roanoke that looks very, very interesting, actually. But again, the problem with the Appalachian is you don't start and stop in the same parking lot. That makes that harder.
You need a car. You need a car person. Which is
it's possible, but I think I just prefer to start and stop in the same parking lot. Honestly, the Pemmy Loop, it checks a lot of boxes. It's beautiful and epic views. It's well trodden. There's ranger stations. You got everything you need. The downside on the Pemmy is going to be you have to camp on these platforms that they built, these like wooden decking platforms, and it's first come, first serve. Not 100% sure we're all going to get to stay on that like everybody will have a spot. That's the downside to that. I'm still doing research on the one in Arkansas though to see what the accommodations are there. I want a tent camp. I don't want to be in a shelter because a lot of people tell me shelters is where you find all the rats, mice, you find snakes, you find bear around the shelters. So definitely want a tent camp. John B. Cardinal Burke, Our Lady of Guadalupe in La Crosse, Wisconsin church as an indulgence. If you went to Mexico's Guadalupe, that's on my bucket list is still to go see Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. I've never been there. It's someday I want to go. I want to take a group down there. I want my friend Polachicho, who's not in the chat box this morning. I want my friend Polachicho to go with me so he can show us all the cool, beautiful, amazing churches in Michoacan. Hey, Susie and Marge from Down Under, good morning, or in your case, good evening. Uh-oh. Sci-Fi Mike has posted a Queen meme of that same. See what you've done, Jake? This is all your fault. Look what you've started. You got this weird memeology thing going on with multiple heads. Hey, Honeybee, good morning, Honeybee. You are amazing. So glad you're on the team. Thank you for your support. How about the Delaware Water Gap? Lots of trails. That's interesting. Is there a start and stop in the same parking lot? I have to look at that.
Oh, I'm sure there is, Joe. That's a interesting part of the country. And my dad being an immigrant kid, he went to Boy Scout camp in the Delaware Water Gap when he was a boy.
Really?
So, yes, it's
wow.
Because his family moved from New York to the Poconos in the late 40s, and my grandfather owned a diner there. Typical immigrant family. They were hustling. So, by the way, your grandfather is the one who was. Speaking of which, your grandfather's the one that was born on September 11th, right?
My grandfather?
Yeah, I thought your grandfather and my dad shared a birthday.
I don't think so. No,
isn't your grandpa still driving and almost 100?
He is, but he wasn't born on September the 11th.
There's something. It's one of the members of my family and your grandfather have a similar birthday, and I can't remember what it was. So.
Alberto reminds us that that's Joe Biden country. You're right. But then Arkansas is Bill Clinton country. Now I'm feeling guilty. Now I'm feeling guilty.
No,
come on. I don't know.
Arkansas
Not
what
so
is
sure
the name
anymore.
of the ambassador to Israel? That's his country.
Huckabee?
The former governor Huckabee. That's Huckabee country.
Huckabee. It's his daughter's. It's his daughter's state. She's the governor. By the way, Sci-Fi issues a correction here. He says, when you discussed Das Evangelium, you did a fantastic accent, Jake.
Okay, that's not a terrible accent.
That's so good. That's so good. Nice comeback. Nice comeback.
The box says terrible.
Touche. Wow. That was fast. I didn't expect that quick of a...
If I was doing the
good.
Sprockets accent, that would be the terrible accent.
Jawohl,
Now's the time, but Sprockets sind wir da.
Das ist gut, no? Time on Sprockets sind wir da. Hey, Dave's Jew, Pennsylvania is God's country. It's certainly lovely.
It is gorgeous.
We'll give it that. It's gorgeous. The Poconos are amazing.
There's an interesting difference. It almost happens as you cross the border from Pennsylvania into New York or vice versa. Just very different kind of feel to the place. New York has a lot more of a Catholic immigrant, even out into the countryside kind of feel. Pennsylvania, much more Protestant. Obviously, there's going to be bleed over on the border, but there really does feel like a difference between the two states in that way. Like
there is the Pennsylvania Dutch.
So no, but even beyond that, just more of the sort of Baptist, Methodist,
outside,
that sort of thing, And whereas in New York State, a lot of places you'll be driving through the absolute boondocks, and the only church in town is a Catholic church. It's a lot more likely in New York. Kind of the bleed out from the boondocks? It's things, Catholicism kind of seeping out from the Erie Canal, kind of waterways with all these Catholic immigrant workers. There's a lot of Catholic farms and farmers, and not like new trad homesteaders. Like these are just, from a long time ago, Catholic families moving out and farming, a lot of Poles out in the farmland in New York State. And Pennsylvania is much more of a kind of almost Appalachian Protestant kind of feel to it. It's really interesting.
True.
You can get that difference almost right at the border.
That's so true.
No, that's absolute truth.
Yeah. And I say that as someone who really does. Pennsylvania is gorgeous. I love Pennsylvania.
My grandfather and his wife and my dad were founding members of their local Catholic parish, and that would have been in maybe the early 50s, to Jake's point. So and by the way, outside now, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are very Catholic towns, and they have a lot of Catholic churches there. And I'm sure that goes as well for Bethlehem and Harrisburg and some of the major towns. But outside of that, it's Lutheran country in most of eastern PA. I don't know what it is out west. So,
Liz, we're praying for you. Liz just has a major migraine hit. Let's keep Liz in our prayer today.
Mm-hmm.
You feel better. Janice says Joshua Charles has a rosary devotion for the Clintons, 24 water fast for their conversions. Yea and amen. Edward Clancy says, just spent 2 weeks in the Poconos, drove on the President Joseph R. Biden Expressway 4 times. Like, you did it more than once, Edward Clancy? What in the world? Like, one time, sure, you didn't know. It's not your fault. You got caught on this highway, and you're like, oh my, what are we doing on the Joseph R. Biden highway? Let's get off. But no, you did it 4 times. At that, I'm gonna say culpability is a thing at that point.
On his way to church. He was on his way to church, Joe, and that was the only way he could get to church.
He said it was an opportunity for prayer, is what he said.
Yeah, amen. Amen for that.
For prayer. Wow. Saints. You're just showing off, Edward Clancy. That's all it is. Hey, John B., good morning to you from Philly. Booing Santa who's booing Santa in Philly?
You remember when the Philly fans booed Santa? They booed Santa Claus?
No.
And threw batteries.
They threw batteries at him, yeah.
They threw batteries.
Why would they do this?
Well, that's Philly fans for
Philly? What is wrong with you? Hey, speaking of Philly.
Buffalo fans just throw ice balls at people.
Yeah, probably.
No, it has happened. It just happened recently.
Speaking of Philly, I had a dream, actually. Not speaking of Philly. I had a dream I got in a snowball fight, actually. Anyway, speaking of Philly, guess what we watched over the weekend?
What'd you watch, Joe?
National Treasure.
Oh.
Now, the reason why we watched it, it's funny because I haven't let my kids ever see this film. One, because I couldn't filter it. And two, because it has all this Freemasonry myth and lore in it. And so they haven't seen it. And so when I surprised them Saturday night for our family movie night, I know National Treasure, and they all screamed. I'm like, what are you being so excited about? What's wrong with you kids? Because they apparently all their friends have seen it. So we were able to watch it because I could filter it finally using ClearPlay. I used VidAngel for years, but now I have a service called ClearPlay as well that allows me to watch different movies that VidAngel doesn't have. So this is one of them. And I haven't seen this film in years, many years now. Is this Nicolas Cage's GOAT film? Is this his greatest film ever, Nick Cage?
It's one of his most iconic, for sure.
It was great. It was entertaining.
It's a well-made film, yeah.
It's a PG film, so there's not a lot of junk that needs filtering anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So adding the filter just made it even more consumable. Praise be to God. It was fun, entertaining, and it was adventurous. I just didn't like all of the Freemasonry lore.
Yeah, it's a relic of a time when people were still capable. Hollywood was still capable of making just fun adventure movies with a male lead, and nothing too subversive going on.
Right?
It's still, you might still have sort of vaguely liberal ideas in there, but it's not overtly,
right. It's
undermining something.
Yeah. There was no agenda to it other than a popcorn film.
Yeah. Maybe you could argue like, oh well, they're trying to kind of rehabilitate Freemasonry here or whatever. But like, it's really more of a historical. Well, they got the lore
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't get it right.
They didn't even get that part right.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up having a conversation about it with our kids.
Yeah.
Or like I talked about it because my wife's not a Mason.
Yeah.
I was anyway. And so I was able to have a conversation about that. Like, what is the lure, the myth, the mythology that Masons have stolen from the Knights Templar?
Yep.
And incorporated into their backstory. This movie gets all that wrong. This movie puts the Knights Templar and the Freemasons on the same page as though they're the same people.
Yeah, exactly. That's
not how it worked.
No.
They actually fought to destroy
right?
the Knights Templars. Is their lore, which obviously they had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
But I remember reading that before I joined the Freemasons. I knew I was going to be joining the Freemasons, so I ended up buying a book on all of their rites and rituals. And so I knew what I was getting myself into, and I still chose to do it. What do we call that when you know it's wrong and you do it anyway? We call that a sin. We call it a sin. Where's the Baltimore Catechism when you need it?
That was a sin.
And so I remember reading all of this backstory about the Knights Templar and their lure, and I'm like, they claimed that the Knights Templar were hiding the skull of Jesus from the rest of the world. That was their claim.
Yeah.
Are you out your mind? I mean, but no, you're not. That's the point. This is their philosophy. This is their theology. They are subtly trying to subvert Christianity. And that story should have rocked my world. I remember I just remember reading that. It was like 1995. And I'm reading it going, okay. I mean, what? If you've been to Sunday school, any catechism class whatsoever, you should immediately be able to debunk this. Like the most go along to get along, Christian should be able to go, that doesn't seem to track with the resurrection, does it? But not yours truly, knuckleheadrus.com. I bought into all of that crazy. Praise be to God for the grace of salvation.
What was the name of that Masonic author who connected Freemasonry to the Templars. I can't remember. He wasn't a Mason when he wrote the book, but he became a Mason later and claimed that the Masons were hiding out in Scotland, or the Templars were hiding out in Scotland, and that's where Freemasonry came from. And I can't remember the name of the author, but it's very much in the same tradition of that Dan Brown guy who wrote
I would
that
say, yeah, John B., I would say the Masons are Gnostics, modern-day Gnostics for sure. I would say that's fair. Totally fair. They have their own philosophy. They have their own religion. They have their own liturgy, their own vestments, their own smells and bells, their own hierarchy.
Funny how they wrap it in it's funny how they wrap it in a cult of Christianity, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, they steal. It's no different than the Seventh-day Adventist or Jehovah's Witness or the Mormons or the Muslims. They just pick and choose. They just steal a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit, and they just mash it all together into one big pot.
Roxanne, I don't mean to tease you too much, but one of the first lines of the movie, National Treasure, is like, a long time ago, in the founding of America, there were great men called the Freemasons. It's like one of the opening lines of the movie.
Yeah.
She said she didn't notice that National Treasure had Mason lore.
I've done. I've ruined it for you. Yeah.
But that was a time when Hollywood still made like
it was fun
for all their flaws. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the first few were pretty fun and old school. They're very old school adventures. There's still some objectionable stuff in them, but for the most part, they're old school adventure films. The Mummy, all these, they were still making pretty straightforward, fun adventure films, and you could kind of ignore if they had little things here and there, little lines there. You could kind of ignore them and still enjoy the rest of the movie. Whereas it's kind of become more ingrained in everything now.
You remember Matthew McConaughey and was it Sierra? The Sahara,
yeah.
Sahara, Matthew McConaughey. That was a great film. We watched that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Entertaining. Very little objectionable content.
Yeah.
And we filtered it anyway.
If you're looking carefully, and this goes back for a long time films, if you're looking carefully, you can almost always spot the sneaky subversive stuff. You can spot where, hey, why does this character have to come from a broken home? Why do they have to keep promoting divorce, and why do they have?
Why does he have to be John Wick every time?
Why you can notice these little things where they're clearly trying to push a little something that's abnormal and make it seem normal. But for them, if you notice that and you're not letting that affect you, you can still enjoy the story for what it is, type of thing.
Right.
Or there's things you can filter out. We kind of don't have much of that left anymore. It's kind of just it's all rot now.
Well, and that's why I've been looking for these films to show them to my kids through filters, so that they can experience the fun aspect of movie watching.
Exactly, because they're so well made.
Hats off to Tom Cruise right now, because I don't love Tom Cruise's politics. I don't love his philosophy. I don't love any of that stuff. But you know what he is trying to do? He's trying to make popcorn movies that people will go to a movie theater to watch.
Yeah.
And in a day and a time where everyone else in his industry is all like, watch it on your phone as fast as possible. I'm like, hats off to him, because I'm like, where is that? Like, I wish I had George Soros' money to go force people to make great films that would be fun and entertaining that the whole family could watch. Like the National Treasure thing, it starts off as a rated PG. If that movie were made today, it'd be a PG-13.
Yeah.
And it would include all kinds of things that I wouldn't want to watch myself, let alone my kids to watch. It was a PG. I'm like, oh, this is so missed. Yep. We need more of this. We need more of that. Kind of makes me sad.
You and I talked about Top Gun Maverick when it came out. And other than really, if I remember right now, it's been a while. Other than one objectionable scene, it was a very good movie. So this goes back to Tom Cruise.
Thanks,
still
Mark.
Makes good movies. It's
I've been calling him kind of the he's kind of like the last movie star. Like he's kind of he's an old fashioned movie star who just wants to make fun movies type of thing. Like I don't really have much of that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, what's unfortunate is that Will Smith was the same kind of guy until he had his big fall from grace. So
Will Smith is such a train
because he was
wreck.
making action films.
God help him. He's a train wreck. I liked Will Smith, but Denzel Washington is probably my favorite actor of all time. Denzel is he's such a talented guy. I love watching Denzel in anything Denzel does. It literally doesn't
even
matter.
when he plays the bad guy.
Yeah,
even when he plays.
I love him as a bad guy.
A lot of my favorite actors are always play the bad guys.
Think about this.
They're so good at it.
Think about how old Denzel is. He's an old man. He's in like Brad Pitt, by the way, is 62. Think on that for a moment. Let that sink in. Brad Pitt is 62. Denzel's what, 70 something? And I still love him now. In The Equalizer. He still convinces me. In The Equalizer. Like, that's amazing.
He is 71, by the way. He's 71.
71. So, and I love anything he's in. He's so good. Hats off to. And by the way, there's a report that came out last week that said he got baptized, but I didn't realize he wasn't baptized. So pray for him to become Catholic someday. Of course, we know that baptism, if done properly with the right intention, is the entryway into the Catholic Church.
It is indeed.
Praise be to God.
And that's
how many Catholic wives did Tom Cruise have? I'm trying to think of which was Katie Holmes a Catholic before she was drawn into the Church of Scientism or whatever it was called. What is his cult called again?
Scientology.
Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology. I think
who told the world that he was creating that religion because he needed a tax shelter. By the way.
Yeah, not surprised.
He created it to be a tax shelter.
There's a lot of scandal with the Scientology folks. There's a whole segment on YouTube of just former Scientology people who have podcasts now, and they talk about the cult. Mm-hmm. They talk a lot about Tom Cruise. They talk about the guy who runs the cult today. They talk about the people who get abused in that cult today. It's pretty disturbing, I would say, at the least. If you Google former Scientology people, you'll find a ton about it. You lost your bingo card, honeybee.
Katie Holmes was Catholic.
Katie Holmes?
Katie Holmes was Catholic, and she went to a Catholic church in Toledo, Ohio. So she's one.
Anyway.
I'm looking at Nicole Kidman now.
Was she Catholic?
I don't know. I'm getting there.
Susie Marge, she's from your backyard. Was Nicole Kidman Catholic? I like Nicole Kidman as an actress, by the way. Nicole Kidman, when she played Lucille Ball, she did a great job. I mean, she did a great job. I wasn't as pleased with the actor who played Desi Arnaz. I mean, he did okay, but not as good as Nicole Kidman. She did a great job. L. Ron was a showman. He was something, wasn't he? Where does Cruise live? Wherever Cruise wants. Trust me. Nicole Kidman is Catholic.
Rogers was an Episcopalian. Yeah, Mimi Rogers was an Episcopalian.
Honey West says Nicole Kidman is a wackadoo. Why? Because she eats bugs and she wants you to eat bugs too? Come on. Does that make someone a wackadoo just because they eat bugs? Really?
I mean, in all fairness, St. John the Baptist ate locusts.
He did.
And
honey. He did. And they did consider him a wackadoo.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And he didn't tell everyone else they had to eat them,
He didn't actually tell everybody else they had to eat them. That's also true. Mark your square. George Soros money. Did I mention George Soros?
Yes, you did. You pulled it right out. Unironically, not a hint of irony. You were like, if I had George Soros money. It was great.
The studios into making popcorn
movies. It was completely unforced. It was all natural. That was great.
It was an unforced error on my part.
That was great.
That's what that was. George Washington's Masonic ring. The museum. George Washington, Freemason. So was Paul Revere, by the way. In fact, my father would tell me that the decision for one if by land, two if by sea was made in the Masonic Lodge that Paul Revere belonged to in Boston.
But Joe, what about that painting of George Washington kneeling in prayer, even though literally every single one of his contemporaries basically mentioned that they'd never seen him kneel to pray ever in his life?
Ever. But hey, listen, it fits well with the evangelical lore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and with the whole he actually secretly converted to Catholicism lore.
Which I don't believe, by the way.
I don't believe that.
But
that story.
hey,
I still like GW,
Washington-
but I don't believe that story.
If W's in heaven, praise be to God.
Yeah,
right.
I hope he made it. I like it too. I have great admiration for GW.
I am the iconoclast here. I am not a fan of GW and his nefarious business ways. He's one of those guys who bought a whole bunch of land out west with no intention of going west. And
everybody was doing that post-war, though.
That's just the good old American spirit.
Not everybody.
The Ohio Valley opened up after the war, and people started flooding in. That was a big deal.
He's just a good old American entrepreneur.
You know,
George
had a very large plantation in Virginia.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why he made a great choice for not only general but president, is because he knew how to run an organization. He had a lot of people running that plantation, and he could keep the organization together. There was a lot of men who didn't have quite that executive experience. And it also happened to be very helpful that he was from Virginia, because, you know, the Bostons, the troublemakers in the Boston colony up there needed someone from the South to, solidify we're all on one same page plan.
Virginia was the richest and the most populous state in the new Union. So there was going to definitely be a Virginia there. It's interesting to me, but I'm just, he was one of the rats that perverted what was intended, and he played along
because he declined to be king.
That's what I'm saying.
The monarchist comes
We
out.
could have been a kingdom, but no.
Could have been a kingdom. We could
Washington
have been
said
a
no.
kingdom. Could have been a kingdom.
There you go.
Man, oh, man.
Does that
That's
count
right.
as both a terrible accent and a terrible impression?
I don't know.
Yes,
maybe
it counts as both.
Hey, but if you make me Holy Roman Emperor, I promise to make.
Oh, you're
monarchy,
cheating. You're cheating.
I plan to make monarchy great again in America. In America, okay, and anybody who becomes king in America, which will obviously be a vassal kingdom to me, the Holy Roman Emperor. Let's just be honest; it's a vassal kingdom. But whoever does become the first king will have to take the name George.
Nice. We almost did. We almost had King George I Washington.
But it'll be George the First, not George the Second. You see, it'll be
too late to be known as George the First. He's sure to be known as George the Worst.
George the Worst. Ron, hi. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Michael Hitchborn's on the team. Until then, God love you.